Hey guys, I'm Chase.
I'm Maria Jose.
And this is our bus, Tio Aventura. Stands for Uncle Adventure.
And in Spanish. I'm from Venezuela. I moved here 4 years ago, almost 5 now.
Yep.
And we met and started living together and decided to buy a school bus.
Yeah, I'm originally from the eastern part of Tennessee, Knoxville. She and I met when we were living in Madison, Wisconsin, both just working. Got the opportunity to come back down this way, in Nashville now, and she came with me.
Yeah, and then one day I went to work and I hated it, and I sent her a text and said, let's buy a bus.
So there were a couple of non-negotiables between she and I, and one for her was makeup. I'm sure she'll discuss that. For me, it was a hammock. I love my Eno. I've always had my Eno with me where I go. Let me see if I can get it undone here. So we found these really awesome clips and then actually screwed them into the ribs of the bus. And this, just to keep it out of the way, is gonna be a struggle. So we kept the mirror. Again, I like the school bus aesthetic, and it hides the hammock very, very well. This was a nice place of refuge while we were building the bus. We'd open up all the windows. Actually gonna have to unwind it a bit. There we go. So yeah, when we were building the bus, this was a nice place of refuge. It was hot, you know, June and July in Middle Tennessee. We pop this up, drop all the windows, let the breeze come in. Here we go. So we drop all the windows. This holds the weight perfectly. It's secured right into the strongest part of this bus, and just relax. So when it's not 40 degrees outside, we can lower the windows again and just, you know, chill in here. This could be slept in, you know, if we have guests, and we built this bus keeping guests in mind. Our sofas, which she'll talk about, slide together, and then this would fit perfectly over top of it. So we could essentially sleep another 4 people in here very comfortably. So we would just set this up certain occasions. It's not always out. I'm sure when the weather gets nicer, when we're going west, there will be a lot of situations where this will be, you know, popped up. So for the compartment up here, this was all original. I know some of them don't have it. I was really excited to see that we do have it. I kept it because it's a really nice space for me to put a fire extinguisher, our paperwork, we're legal. I've got my drill battery, and I have a little safe up here as well. I keep our bus receipts from our build, so there are a few other ones, but you know, it's a nice reminder of the money that we spent on this, which wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. It was a little bit more than I would have preferred. We bought the bus April 6th this year, 2018, and it's still not finished, but it's totally functional. And that took us May, June, July, August, 4 months. And then total cost on it, total cost was under $16,000. That includes the bus and taxes, registration, everything.
So this is the living room area. We decided, we have an idea of, we wanted kind of separate rooms. We didn't want like one area, and then we wanted to privacy. Like Chase said, we want guests to come over here, so we want them to feel like welcome, don't feel like we're sleeping all together in the same place. So we have 2 sofas over here, which actually we can pull them together. I will probably change that, make it a little bit easier to pull together. So I always need Chase and be like, hey, I need help. We do have some storage, but because it's so hard to get in there, we barely put anything in there. So we actually went to IKEA, and so these bed frames, they had like a weird, it's a slab system we have in each side on the sofa, and then we can just actually like pull them out, and they will just meet in the middle. We actually made the cushions ourselves, the curtains ourselves. We were gonna buy everything, but then we were like, you know what? Let's just buy a machine and try to make it ourselves. Like, it's a school bus. Let's make it as unique and ours as possible. So actually, everybody told us like, you're crazy. That's so hard. I hate sewing. And we're like, now we actually love it. We bought the machine and now we're like trying to figure it out. Okay, how could we make this pattern over here? So we made the cushions ourselves. Putting it inside was kind of hard, but they have zippers on the side so you can wash them. My dog already threw up on it, so it's cleanable, which is good. We tried to put as many rugs on the floor. We probably are gonna get some more because the floor is kind of cold and my dog slides when we're driving, so it helps to keep him in place. Then we have some storage over here, which actually right now we only have like some tools and screws and things that we might need for the build. We also put up some curtains. I didn't want to see the whole cable or the kind of like the plastic that the bus original came with. So we just put some wood behind and cover the cables. We actually kind of like drill a hole behind it and we can just put the cables, the whole cable system. Yeah, that way, you know, it looks a little bit like more clean. And then it's a little bit more firm as well for the curtains. Before, when we first put the curtains up, we had cables to keep them together. They didn't look the best, but they did the job until we went to Walmart and found these curtain rods for like $2. And we're like, whoop, we bought all of them and they work perfect. They don't look bad at all. And yeah, you can like move them around if you need to and put them back together really easy. Yes, we did make the curtains ourselves. I'm looking for a way to keep them. Right now I'm using just a hair tie to bring some light inside, but yeah, it was really easy. We actually bought the original curtain from Amazon and then we cut it and just measure about the size of our windows. And it's blackout curtains. They're blackout curtains, so it's nice to keep it nice cool inside when it's very hot outside, and then when we're sleeping we don't have like the sun peeking through.
So in our kitchen, instead of going for building, and I'll be honest, instead of building, we wanted to buy cabinets. This bus really pushed the limits of what I know about woodworking and, you know, honestly just building anything. So we opted to get pre-built, pre-manufactured cabinets. Don't do it. Honestly, don't do it. Thank me later. Now, if you were to, you know, salvage some from Craigslist that were solid wood, absolutely. The face of these was white oak. They're from Lowe's, and that's, you know, their cabinets are meant to be in a home, in something stationary, not in something that, you know, takes bumps going down the road at 65 miles an hour. So I can't say the quality is bad, but the application at which I put them in was really a bad decision. So the drawers, they're missing right now because they fell through, but build yours, you know, take a few extra, you know, days to get it right. Do not buy, build your cabinets. But we went with an L shape. We took a bunch of polls from family members, people on YouTube, and everyone said they wanted our refrigerator right here. And what did we do? The exact opposite of what everyone said, because we wanted a functional space. We wanted it to be open. We wanted, honestly, the ease of plumbing. We have the shower right behind here, so we could just run both of our lines directly off of that. So the sink here, our cooktop here, and then we wanted a good amount of accessible and reachable, I guess, prep space, if you will. So my biggest point out of all of this is go with what's functional. That's what we did instead of what was popular. We love it. Couldn't change it if I wanted to. And then build your own cabinets. For sure. So with the refrigerator, it's powered by our solar system. We wanted a fully residential fridge because our intention is to boondock as much as possible in very remote areas. So we want enough usable food and supplies as we possibly can. This was rated lower energy use than most of the apartment size fridges that we had looked at, and it was significantly cheaper. I got this on a discount while I was still working.
Well, thank you, Best Buy.
Yeah, I paid like $250 for this fridge. Black stainless steel. It worked perfect with the design.
We were surprised it fit. It was funny to see everybody from Best Buy just like pushing it through the little door, but it's in here, it's working.
We took the doors off of that just so they wouldn't scratch.
It fit perfectly.
And we didn't have to load it up where we bought it at Best Buy, we pulled the bus up and they loaded it up for us. So that was a major benefit.
And they were excited to see inside the bus. So we were like, well, if you help out, you get to see the bus. So it worked out perfect. Then we have cabinet. We bought countertop from IKEA. We went with a gray color because we already had like different color wood in the floor, and we wanted to kind of keep it like more simple and neutrals. You can see inside the bus we have like very neutral colors. We don't have a lot of pop of colors just because we prefer something that it's more clean. Then if we want to add color with other things, we totally can, and we will not get bored of being inside of something that is just pure bright. We want to put Velcro in things, but I want to finish the whole kitchen and then kind of like decide what I want to Velcro. For the moment right now, everything just goes in the sink while we're driving, and it's pretty easy to put away. For me, actually, the layout that we have for the kitchen, it worked out perfect. I have a lot of prep space. We have just a two burner because it's just two of us. We don't need a lot, to be honest. Pretty much two is what we used in our house before. When we had the large house, we had like a 4 and we never used it. We probably used 1. So that's perfect size. We have a bigger one in the back, a smaller one in the front, and it has worked perfect for us. Then we got the sink. Actually, we got it at IKEA, and we saw it. We fell in love. We were like, well, perfect. It's going to fit amazing in there. We pick it up, and then we went to the damaged part of IKEA. You know, that is like discounted 50% off and everything. And we found it in there, so we left the good one and we took the scratch one, but it was perfectly fine. It was just a scratch because it was display, but it worked out everything. Actually, we got it in there. Yeah. This one was over there too.
You know, we have the deep sink. It's really nice to store while we drive, but it really comes in handy to just, you know, it's the most useful thing to wash our dishes immediately after we use them and put them back up. So there's, you know, as long as you're staying on top of cleaning and tidying, you don't really need a big sink, but it's nice for storage. Yeah. So you may say that.
So, of course, we use the sink for storage when we're driving, but it's also very nice because it's deep and we get to just like clean the dishes right away and try to clean it and keep it as nice as possible because it's a smaller place. That was one of my conditions. I was like, okay, we're gonna live in a school bus, but we're gonna try to keep everything in place. I don't want to live in a mess and feel frustrated of being in the bus. I want to actually enjoy being in the bus. Also, a good thing about the sink is that we have a little chihuahua that we have to give him bath, and that's gonna fit perfect. So we went with the deeper sink and larger, and we still have a lot of space for prep. So for the storage on the top, we put just the security to keep it closed. It hasn't opened at all while we're driving. You can tell we haven't eaten in the bus much yet. We bought new things. So we're still trying to figure it out where to keep everything. We have some cups and mugs in there. This area over here, we have to cut it to fit the curve in the ceiling. So we have to make sure that it was extra secure. We already have the problem over here. We didn't want everything to fall apart. So it's pretty good in there, I will say. I just have some storage in there of like cooking and prepping, but it takes some time to actually find out, like, you know, at your house you just like put it there and then you're like, oh, it works better here. So it kind of like you have to work around to see how it will work the best. This has been a big area for me, to be quite honest, because we have a lot to storage, and the kitchen, that's pretty much the largest area for storage in the kitchen area. But we actually bought some dividers, I will say, like organizers on Amazon, and we can keep all our canned food and dry food. So we're still trying to figure it out that as well, but we're doing our best to kind of keep everything where we need it to be.
So initially, to fit the curvature of the bus, which is insanely difficult, we did something very similar to this with self-tapping screws and toggle bolts, where we would pre-drill, push our toggle bolts through, secure the wood, essentially base plate, if you will, with the toggle bolts, and then self-tap them in multiple spots. Then we reinforced the inside of the cabinet with wood, and then just mounted that directly to the faceboard that we made. And then after about 600 miles on the road, those started to still loosen up and wiggle a bit. So we added the secondary support down below, which we should have done from the very beginning. In hindsight, we would have preferred to, just build the cabinets in to the curvature of the wood and support them, or into the curvature of the roof, and support them this way to begin with. So in the refrigerator, we have way too much space. It could actually store most of our dishes and Tupperware and still have enough room for now. But I mean, we've been staying centrally localized to where some family live, so
they cook for us.
yeah, so we don't have to have a ton of that, but come January and just before, we're going to need all of the space that we actually have, so that's nice. I didn't mention how it is powered. So it's powered off the solar system. We have 800 watts up top, that they're Renogy 100 watt monocrystalline panels. We wanted mono over poly. I know there are a couple of other types of things, but we went with the mono panels. We have 500 amp hours of batteries. Those are AGM. I believe they're not necessarily what we need. So we're actually battery shopping right now. I think, as painful as it's going to be forking out the money, lithium is going to be the way that we're going to want to go. And we're honestly looking at a much larger battery bank, just because of our battery needs will be growing. We're going to be, adding some additional things. We want the option to eventually run air, even if it's for an hour or two a day. But we don't have any of that installed because of the climate and the temperatures that we're in right now. And then that's all powered from DC to AC through the walls with a 4,000 watt Ames power inverter. With the wood stove, this was something that I had to have. I don't know, was as interested in it as I was.
At the beginning, now I love it.
But I wanted it for two reasons. Wood heat. I grew up with a wood stove in my house, and it was one of my fondest memories growing up, sitting by the fire, the dog sitting by the fire. But two, I wanted it because, it's a natural heat source. You can go out and chop some wood. You can buy ricks and bundles of wood. And, aesthetically, this thing is beautiful. It fits the space perfectly. So those were really the reasons that I wanted it. Implementing it in a school bus is a lot more difficult than, just the concept in your head. So the first was finding stovepipe that's 3 inches, that isn't stainless or single wall, because you are going through the roof. You do have some insulation up here, some combustible materials. But once we figured that out, it was how do we actually get it? How do we get it into place and get it working? So I did it all in about 4 hours when I actually set out to install it. So I went to Lowe's and I got this 15.5 by 15.5 inch paver, used a masonry bit to drill down through it, and then put bolts from actual carriage bolts through the bottom and tighten the wood stove down to the block first. Moved it in. I had already cut my hole and I used a 6-inch hole saw. That thing was insane. Good luck finding them, and when you do, I'm sorry for your wallet. We were in Wisconsin when we finally found all the stuff. We couldn't find anything in Tennessee for it. For a small wood stove at least. But then we secured the block down with just actual screws through the floor so it won't move, and then built a little trim piece to go around and hide the screws. But I'm absolutely in love with the wood stove. A lot of people complain that the burning time is not extremely long on them, but what I found is if you use really, really nice hard woods, you can maximize your burn times. Large chunks. We cut all of our wood in probably 6.5 inch chunks, and we can fit a few of them, probably 3 chunks in there, and that'll burn for 4.5, 5 hours on a really, really, really nice hardwood.
The dogs love it.
The dogs love it. I love it. You can feel right here the heat coming off of it, and we have the front door wide open on the bus, and it's in the 40s today. So the only thing is when you go with a small wood stove like this, you do need to get the radiant heat fan to push the air in the direction that you want. Otherwise, you are going to have a hot spot here, and for our layout, it's difficult to get the air back. But it does, over time, fill up the entire bus with heat. She was recording a video. She'd make up videos, and it was 24 degrees outside This was earlier last week.
Yeah.
We had snow, which is odd for us. It was about 24, 26 degrees outside. And in here, we were having to remove our coats. It was hot.
It was really hot.
Our UPS guy has come in when he's delivering packages, and we've had this running. And he even made comment on how warm it was. So I would say we're able to get, and we do have the walls insulated, we're able to get a good 35 to 40 degree difference from outside to inside. It depends on how hot we let it burn. You know, if we have all of our curtains down, we do try and use as much passive solar as we possibly can to help heat, you know, and then on the cool side, we'll leave the curtains drawn so we're blocking the cool from coming in.
Which also we left the heaters, the original heaters from the bus.
Yeah.
We let them, there's one over here, one in the back, and then you have one over there, right?
So we inspected all of the lines very, very well before then, because I know there are some issues where they'll spring a leak and then, you know, you've got a lot of trouble there. But we liked the fact that if we were on a serious pool and the bus is, you know, creeping up in temperature, we could flip the heaters on and circulate the coolant even further back. So when we're driving, we just flip on the heaters. We have a right front, I have one underneath the seat, and then we have one at this wall, actually below the cabinet, but it's not inside the cabinet. And it vents up the wall and out and into the bathroom. The bathroom will get very, very toasty while we're driving if we have that heater on. And then we have one that actually vents out in the back in two different ways. So it keeps that back area warm as well. But that's only when we're driving. This thing produces enough heat. I wouldn't say it produces too much heat. And I can see where for some people this might not be enough. If we had moved it any further forward, we would have an issue keeping the bus warm. If we had moved it any further back, we would probably get way too hot in the bedroom. This is a nice open area for it, so it heats up this area very, very well. And then with a fan, it pushes heat back super, super nice. It doesn't fold up right here. We actually have the table mounted on the wall. It comes off the wall, and then it has hairpin legs that you can open up, and that sits perfectly in between our two sofas here.
Okay, so now we're here in the bedroom area, our area where we spend most of the time pretty much. It's really comfortable back here. That was a big point for us. We wanted to enjoy being in the bus. So we went with our queen size bed.
From home.
Yes, it's very comfortable. We got everything on top from pretty much everywhere. Some things from Amazon, some things from
The World Market.
World Market. Yep, we love that store. Then we have the wall which divides the living area to the garage, which Chase is gonna take you there in a moment and show you. But then we have some storage on the top as well, where pretty much want to build two more because it's a long area, and for me it's kind of hard to just open the one in the middle. It kind of like crawl around and try to grab everything in there. We don't have a lot of things in there right now, just our sewing machine and like sewing things, but that's pretty much everything we have right there. Then for me, how Chase said that there was some things for him that he actually need to keep in the bus. For me was my makeup area, because I do makeup tutorials, so I didn't want to get rid of anything. Also I freelance, I do makeup freelancing, so it's going to be more like freelancing and doing makeup on the road. So this was the area that I wanted to actually keep, because I was not going to give it away. It's part of my job as well. So I love how it looks. It actually fits perfectly with the room. I get a pretty good space to actually record, and it looks good. I don't know. We got everything from here from IKEA as well. Some storage, not the best. They're already broken. Like, this is a mess, so it's already broke in the middle. And how Chase said, it's actually made to be in a home, not in a school bus, which is moving and full of makeup, and just like sometimes my drawers just like explode and go everywhere. So we're trying to find a way to actually keep them closed while we're driving, but we have it kind of figured out right now. Then we actually have this little area over here, which is more for like the TV area. Chase loves to play video games, so finding a place to storage all his game and his PlayStation was important. We actually found that in TJ Maxx, and it looks really cool. So we just mount it there, and it's stable. For the TV, we actually want to mount it kind of like a corner, because right now it's kind of like in the middle. But yeah, right now it's just there, but we actually eventually want to just mount it in the corner of the...
I hit my shoulder on it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And other people who come into the bus do as well.
Yeah. And every single time it happens, I get mad. I'm like, I told you I wanted it in the corner. Yeah. So it's coming. What about underneath the bed?
Yeah. So it was really vital for us to still have space. I mean, we went from a very large house for us, for 2 people, to an area that's functional every way that we need. But it's important that we still keep the things that feel like home and that can, keep our passions and our hobbies alive. Like I have my didgeridoo, I have my guitar on the wall. She has her makeup space. She let me keep a PlayStation. Not that I use it here, but and then to still have a lot of storage was super important to us as well. So we actually, in a small space, have more storage than what we really need as of right now, which is kind of cool. But that's only because when we decided to go small, we truly committed 100% to that. For reference, we had large walk-in closets, and we had essentially walk-in closets in every room. Every room was fully furnished with dressers and drawers, and
every single closet was full of clothes.
Was completely full with clothes and shoes. Every drawer was filled with clothes. My clothes in guest rooms, her clothes in the walk-ins, and we downsized to where we could add things to our wardrobes now in this small space.
But still, we're trying to keep it a little bit more responsible. For every single item we buy, we have to give two away. So it makes you think, like, do I truly want it? Is there something that I don't like as much? So we're trying to keep it more balanced and actually keep in what we truly need.
And we did the 1 in, 2 out because eventually we would go 0. And we're blessed to have everything that we've ever needed in life.
Yeah.
And, I have, at this point, still more clothes than what I need. And instead of taking shopping as a hobby, if I really need a nice winter coat because we're somewhere that, something isn't keeping us warm, I can go and get one now. But I don't have one because I don't need it yet. The other thing with the storage, I'll show you here, we have the bed on struts.
Do you need help?
No, I get it. With our 100-gallon water tank in the back. It fit perfectly in the space. It's nice because, it's got all of the things around it as well as, the bus being heated, to keep it from potentially freezing. And then we have a ton of extra, decorative pillows, a tabletop oven as well, since we only went with the cooktop, and then just some other storage.
Things that we don't use as often, so that's why they're underneath the bed. But it's nice to have that space.
It's on struts that help us lift it, but don't keep it up.
And now for the storage, we went with closets on the side for the hallway. Eventually, it was going to be a washer and dryer. It was going to be a washer and dry area. But we decided that we prefer to keep it for storage for right now. We truly prefer to just park somewhere and go and wash clothes. We're not going to be able to use it if we were not connected or the whole process. So why to just have it, With the closets, we actually built it ourselves, of course, like pretty much everything else. It was a little bit issue because they will open when we were driving, and if we put the locks, the other type of locks, they will open anyway. So we went with this one instead, which you just turn it, and then you can just open really easy. That's the other issue with this one, that you have to open all of the closets to be able to open that one. We fit pretty much, that's all Chase's clothes. Over here we just have some extra jackets, and we put our tripod and camera equipment. The other side, it's mine, and I keep some shoes on the bottom and also my clothes, and that's pretty much everything that I own right now. So it was really helpful because they don't look bumpy. I will say that they don't take a lot of space, and we are able to fit a lot of things in them, and they have worked perfect. We're gonna paint it eventually. We were gonna do white, but then we were like, that's pretty much a lot of white. So we went with a stain, weather oak, and we loved it. It actually looks rustic, kind of. I said I didn't want a rustic look, but eventually I kind of like it because it brings out some of the colors from the actual wood, some greens and blue and gray. I really like it because it kind of goes with the floor as well. Over here we were gonna have some other closet area, but it was too tiny for it, so we're probably just gonna build some shelves and just have like a shoe rack or to be able to put small things for storage. And that's pretty much everything for our closet area.
This is our bathroom. We have a lot of space for it to be in a school bus, and we designed it that way in particular. On the opposite side of this wall is a hall, and the hall for some people may be a little narrow. I don't rub on either side, and that's perfect. I don't hit my head, and I don't necessarily have to duck much, but that was a sacrifice for us to have our own personal sanctuary. You know, wake up, shower, shower before bed. We wanted something that we could move around in, and we wanted it to be beautiful. So we tiled the shower with marble and subway tiles, and we found the shower pan at kind of a salvage yard. It sounds odd. There's this very eccentric man in Middle Tennessee named Tink. He has hundreds of acres filled with salvage products that he buys bulk trucks full of from Lowe's and Home Depot and contractors and things like that. So we picked our shower pan up for about, was it $35? Which the next closest one that we could find was about $140 of this size. The shower rod we made the shower curtain rod we made ourselves with a pipe bender and some pipe, and it's only fixed on 2 points of the roof, and it wiggles if you move it, but that's just the metal of the roof, the metal sheeting of the roof that bends, but it hasn't fallen off. Very secure for what it is. And yeah, so we just dedicated a lot of space to the bathroom because this is a really good place for us to relax and unwind. We want it to be functional, we want it to be beautiful and comfortable. The downside to this would be our flooring, and we haven't spoken about the flooring yet. It's beautiful. It was relatively inexpensive, and I think I was in a mindset reflooring a home rather than reflooring 250 square foot of school bus when I went to purchase it. And I had sticker shock, a lot of things, so I ended up going with a cheaper wood laminate. I shouldn't have done that. We had a little air conditioner that we used, and just a little bit of moisture got on the floor and actually started to bubble it. So we didn't know that it was there, so we didn't have the opportunity to wipe it up. Knowing that this area is exposed to moisture, we do, we can and do wipe it. So that's not a problem yet. I do think at some point I will be redoing the floor, probably with like a life-proof vinyl. So my tip would be learn from my mistake and do something that may cost a little bit more, but keep in mind at most, you're doing 250, 260 square feet of flooring, but it'll pay off in the long run. So everything in here runs off of our 100-gallon water tank. We wanted to keep the speakers in the bus, so all of the original speakers, so we can listen to music while we shower or while we're in bed. And then we got a really small space bathroom vanity from Lowe's, and it works perfect, actually. We haven't had any complaints out of it like we had, the kitchen cabinets and some stuff like that. So there we have, I believe this is an Aqua Flush RV toilet, and it's super comfortable. It works very well. I've seen a lot of videos where people go the route of composting toilets because they don't want to deal with gray or black water tanks, or black water tanks in particular. I grew up camping, and if there was anyone who had the bad end of the deal, who was helping flush the black tank, it was me. And it's really not that difficult, and it's not that cumbersome of a task. So for us, we could have gone the route of composting, but we chose to do a black water tank just because I was, one, unfamiliar with composting. Two, we had heard some horror stories of people cleaning the composting toilet. I'm sure if I researched, I could find both positive and negative things about it. But we will be splitting some of our time up between state parks and campgrounds and things like that. That'll have dump stations, and there are a lot of travel centers that have dump stations for RVs as well. So our black water tank is almost 60 gallons. Our gray water tank is 55. So with that and everything vented, we have no smell in here, and we have a lot of potential time to poo. That's the reason why, and she doesn't have to worry about flushing the tanks. I don't mind to do it, but I think it gave us a little bit more flexibility, less maintenance, It's easy to clean. You dump it, set it, forget it, never really have to deal with it much. So that's the reason why we went with that. We've got a little bit of towel storage over here. At some point in the future, I will probably build a small little cabinet above the toilet, but it will have to be small just for some extra storage, because I'm sure the longer into this journey and lifestyle that we get, we will need a few more places to store things. I frosted out the window, but then we also added the curtains. This was just a cheap film, and it looks a little bubbly on the inside, but you can't tell at all. And I wanted that because it's the bathroom. We need privacy in here. But I didn't want to put something that was going to block light out, because natural light is super important, and it's really nice to have. So we frosted the windows so you can't see in, but you can still see out. And then we can always drop the windows if we're in an area by ourselves and we want to catch some views while we're, doing our stuff. We got a really small little trash can here for the bathroom as well. We don't, even in our house that was as large as it was, we didn't really have much trash. I can't say we didn't have a huge footprint, but some people can fill up a trash can in a few days, and it would take us several weeks to completely fill our one garbage can up. So we don't need a ton of stuff there. So one of the first things that you see when you come into the bus, aside from the staircase, is this little corner shelf that we store things like my Game Boy Color. I think I have Pokemon or Tony Hawk in there. We've got little bows, some candles, Polaroid, and books. This was really going to be wasted space if I didn't find a solution for it. And I wanted to, keep some of the books that I enjoy reading and rereading, and then a place to also, introduce some new ones there. So it took me about an hour and a half to build this, a few adjustments, and then secured it to the side of the sofa, and I think it just works out perfectly. Little shelf space up here, a place that we can secure our lamp to, and then kind of like not really a collect-all, but a spot for, some electronics and headphones and things, and some books. So we like it. It's maybe not the best use of the space, but we can take those off here on the weather mat. So that I probably wouldn't change. We've got, I don't even really know what you'd call it, a single piston lock. I'm not sure, but we have it secured through both doors, and really you can just close it. It's locked. You're not getting in once we close the actual regulator there, the air regulator for the doors. And then from the exterior, we've got our keyhole, just a standard key lock, unique to this school bus, or this tiny home, if you will. But we wanted something that we could secure it. It may not be the absolute most secure thing, and we're always thinking of ways that we can improve the security, functionality, and the reliability of everything on this bus. But we've not had anyone really try and break in yet. And I wanted to do that. That was one of the first things that I secured on the bus after we bought it in April, because we had it stored at a storage facility that we were driving the bus over, because I couldn't keep it in our neighborhood because of the HOA. But I noticed that some kids near the storage facility had gotten into the school bus and were messing with the adjustments, the lights and the interior, exterior speakers. And so that was something that we added fairly quickly. But it was like a $20 or $25 lock that we bought. You can get them at Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, and then you just have to drill through the metal. The only thing is with the bifold doors, going down at highway speeds, they will flap a little bit, so it's a little noisy there, but keeping it locked and the air regulator closed for the doors, it won't fly open. That's a tough one, really. So the paint scheme for the bus, we wanted to do Henry's Tropicool up top, so we did that first thing. It was a noticeable difference in the Tennessee summers as far as immediate heat or radiant heat that you can feel coming through the roof. So we knew white on top all the way around. That was amazing. Suggest anyone building a bus or even a van, if you're renovating a camper, most of those are white tops anyway. Go and get you, depending on the size of your vehicle, a 5-gallon tub of Henry's Tropicool, and take a day to slather that marshmallow all over it. but I wanted green. I wasn't quite sure what color green I wanted to do, and she was really into the teal colors of the buses, but we wanted something that we hadn't necessarily seen on a lot of builds, and bus builds are extremely popular right now, and we wanted something that was durable. So we consulted some experts at Sherwin-Williams, and they got us over to an industrial oil-based enamel that they said would hold up to anything that we needed going down the road in different terrains. And we actually spent a few weeks looking at colors for the bus, and we ran into one particular shade called Cascade Green and fell in love with it. So we bought 5 gallons of it, and instead of rolling the paint on, we were pouring it into a Wagner sprayer bucket, and we prepped for about a week and a half on the bus and sprayed the entire bus in a matter of about 90 minutes to the finish that it is now. And it's dirty. We've been traveling in the bus. This is, the way that the bus looks. But we had all the windows taped off. My mother helped actually tape off windows because she loves the paint prep part. It was quite possibly the rainiest, or not necessarily the rainiest, but the windiest day that we had seen working on the bus. And we got it done. But we love it. It blends in with the environment. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, but it is unique going down the road. It's not a school bus, well, anymore a school bus. It's not a prison bus. And we like it. We like that it pops with the little white accents that we've got going down the side. On the inside of the bus, we kept, like I had mentioned, we kept all of the original bus speakers, and we kept the stuff up at the front as well that I guess the original head unit for the bus had a little microphone wired to a megaphone outside. So I guess bus drivers could yell out routes or tell kids to watch out or whatever on the bus. So I wanted a spot where if we were parked somewhere like here, and we were sitting outside or around a campfire and we wanted to listen to some music, we could just flip that toggle switch to the exterior and have some music out here. So I got marine grade speakers, opened the holes for them. They're inexpensive, I think like $10 a speaker. And I mounted some exterior speakers underneath as well, and then just wired everything to the external route. So they sound phenomenal. We could have a rave out here outside. Not that I would want to, but we could. But then we can also dial it down to where it's not rude to people who may be camping around us. We like to keep that in mind everywhere we're going. But it's nice. It's really nice to have, and they're cool. This bus came with 2 really large underbay storage areas. I would have loved to have 4 of them. Some of the buses have them in the rear and the other side. I absolutely couldn't have gotten a bus that didn't have the storage. If I had gotten a bus that didn't have the storage, I would have learned a lot about welding because I would have had to put storage underneath it. These work out super well. We actually have some leftover space right now. That's probably going to end up being firewood, seasoned firewood for the wood stove. But we store our propane tanks down there. We store some tools, some bus fluids, because anything diesel, you never know what you might run into, and something that's 14 years old as well, you never know what you might run into. So the back is solar batteries right now, charge controllers, and then the front here is propane tanks and tools. I think this is an Atwood. I think it's an Atwood 6-gallon hot water heater. I won't lie, this has been kind of a pain point for us right now. I don't know many people who like cold showers, but we're having a really difficult time keeping this thing operating. I don't know if it's from a wiring standpoint or what, but it's been difficult. This works both off of LP. We have it LP converted, and it'll run on electric as well. So if we're like plugged in somewhere, but it's not worthy of its price tag quite yet. I think if I had to do it over, I would go with the tankless, which I see a lot of buses do. And at this point, I can kind of understand why. But maybe over the journey, it'll change my mind. But right now, I'm not keen on it. And here's our dirty garage area. Again, we drive the bus, it's gonna get dirty. We still have some leftover oil residue from when we sprung a leak, but I have the lock taken off already just for this, but we have a big master lock here. You see them on a lot of buses. They're fairly common. I love them. I think I would be hard pressed to see someone break into it, which I'm sure it can be done, but we just keep it locked while we're going. And then we store just a little bit of everything back here. I've got our breaker box, our transfer switch, which We really didn't even need one, but we just went that route because a lot of people that we had done some research on did that with their bus. But this is our 4,000 watt Ames power inverter. I didn't know much about anything, and I still don't know much about anything solar related, but I know Ames is a very reputable brand. That, I think Magnasign were the only two that I felt comfortable going with, and so far it's been running flawlessly for us. We did it all with the help of my father. He helped, my brother helped some with some stuff, and then I just ordered all the parts together, figured out how to wire it, and did it, and it worked. We hadn't caught the bus on fire yet, but we do have the fire extinguisher on hand if we do. The garage area in the back was something that we had planned initially. I actually had planned it to be a little bit larger, but then when we were taping everything out, we didn't think we would need much space. I would say if you're gonna build a garage area and you want the space, commit to the space. I ended up taking about 8 or 9 inches away from this, which would have been, I think, extremely useful for the times that we need to get up and reach certain things. But we definitely planned for it. I had planned for it to be a little bit larger, but then we second guessed that decision and minimized it a little bit. But it still works out very well for us. So far I've kept some wood back here, got Sub-Zero sleeping bag, a ready bag for anyone who's still a prepper. I have that, but now I just drive around with my home, so that's cool. Some rock climbing gear, little Coleman grill, so if we want to grill out back there. And it's unfinished right now, but then again, I don't know if there's really much reason for me to finish it in. It's just an extra expense at this point. The only other thing that we really want to do back here is put same transparent film or the semi-opaque or opaque film on the back, just so it'll kind of help keep prying eyes out of the back of it while we're on the road. Yeah, help keep them honest. So this was not a cheap piece of equipment, and some other things back here aren't necessarily cheap pieces of equipment either, but I think once we have that that blocked off, it doesn't matter if we finish it in. I can just keep hanging things. That happened after my company sent around redundancy plans, and instead of letting it take a negative effect on our life, we saw it as kind of a freedom and opportunity, and we fixed the little things that needed fixed up on the house, listed it, and took off. Our first trip got cut short because we got an offer on the house and we went ahead and accepted it, so we had to come back to the area to close. We've been here now for, I guess, the last 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. We're gonna hang out around Nashville for the next few weeks. We have Christmas in Wisconsin, and then January 1st, actually it may be before then.
Yeah.
It may be before the new year, we're gonna be taking off through the Southwest. We're gonna go through Texas and Arizona, all the fun spots there, try and chase good weather until spring.
Yeah.
Head up the coast, and then Pacific Northwest once it gets a little bit nicer out.
Probably, I will say that we're gonna drive and just enjoy the ride for the moment, and probably find a place where we actually absolutely love it and find land, and probably park and build our own house.
So we were talking about it the other day, and I think living in the bus, at least since we have been, 1 year, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
3 years, even better. I think 5 years is probably our max, and we may go through a few changes over that amount of time. But 5 years, I think that's what we decided would give us enough time to find land, buy, and build. But we have no plans of getting rid of Tio anytime soon. So
unless you want to buy for like 60,000.
It all happened very quickly. We had been watching several other bus builds on YouTube. My dad actually got us turned on to the idea, which was kind of funny. But we had been looking, and we wanted something larger because we had certain space requirements that we wanted. Now having a large bus, I think we could actually go a little bit smaller, be a little easier to park and travel with. But we were looking in a certain price range below $4,000. Some buses that we had seen were gas, like engines, and we didn't want that. We wanted diesel. And then this one popped up fresh off of its route at Nashville Metro. So, and I can tell you, we wanted that because they don't run the buses during the winter. So there's no salt, no anything like that. Any chance of snow, school's called off, so they don't run. And this was a zero rust bus, which was fabulous. Front engine just so happened to be, I think now I would much rather have a pusher because they're a lot quieter. But this, we can still hold a conversation. It's not so bad that we can't hear each other, but it's a Caterpillar 3126 with the Huey. Some people love it, some people hate it. So far it's working really well for us. We both really love the school bus aesthetic, so we opted not to change this. It was functional. It's not the prettiest. It's a school bus, and we're living in a school bus. There's no real reason to mask that in its entirety, but I wanted a flat front because we wanted the extra space. The MVP Thomas has an awesome, range of view that you can see. So I think that all kind of went into us finding this bus. It was local. It had been serviced up until 6 weeks before we bought it, and they only got rid of it because the safety requirements change every 14 years in the state of Tennessee on school buses. But I wouldn't change the flat front for anything. I love it. I rode this type of bus to school when I was a kid, and I always enjoyed it, and now I'm living in one, which is kind of cool. But everything works. They didn't pull anything except for the cameras off when we bought it, which is kind of cool. And you can still use the toggle switch over here to open and close the doors. It had under 200,000 miles when we bought it. It has 204,000 on it now, just about. And we put all of those on it in our first trip, 17 states and close to 4,000 miles. But we're getting about 9 miles per gallon diesel right now. We did get the 6-gear Allison transmission approved for an unlock. So we're expecting another probably 1 or 2 mile increase, which is huge. We have a 100-gallon fuel tank. We were averaging that from here to Madison, Wisconsin to Camden, Maine, and Camden, Maine back. It's been awesome. We ran into one issue with the Huey pump. It blew a seal, and we just purged oil all over northern Indiana. And Freightliner fixed it. They didn't fix it just right. They didn't replace the O-ring. They just tightened it. And so we lost oil for the remaining 3,300 miles until we figured out we were still, purging oil from the same spot. But it has air brakes. We wanted that. It's automatic. I know some old buses are manuals. It's great. We're rolling right now locked into 5th at 65 miles an hour as a top speed. I know some buses are maxing or governed at 55. Thankfully, we're not. And we don't really care about additional speed. 65 is great. Out west, 70 will be nice once I get 6-gear unlocked. We actually haven't installed the backup part of it. It's a 4-camera system, and I've got them both on the sides. And I wanted that just as a security measure while I was driving down the road, getting used to driving this. You don't have to have a CDL in Tennessee when it's converted to an RV. So they're functional. I wouldn't say they're the best. We did get those online. It was like a kit for $200 some odd with all 4 cameras and the receiver or the monitor. The monitor is awful. The color is way out of whack, so typically I just keep it in black and white instead of seeing green roads and purple trees. But it is nice to be able to see both sides of the bus. We do still have the 6 mirrors up front, and they're great. But the backup camera, it's wired and it's ready. We just have to actually mount it to the back. And that will be very useful with 40 feet of bus here. I think the biggest part of driving this bus was the initial fear that it's, a 21,000-pound vehicle and you're driving it, in Nashville traffic for us. But after about the first 50 miles on the bus, it felt like driving a normal car, to the point where when we get in a normal car, in her Honda or my Jeep, it feels very strange. But I don't know if it's the flat nose buses. It's very easy to drive because it's very easy to see where you're at once you get used to, hovering over the front wheels. Guys, we really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. We hope you enjoyed our bus as much as we enjoy our bus. There are several avenues that you can keep up with our travels because we are going full-time. We are full-time. We've sold our house. Our Instagram is Tio Aventura Bus. That's Tio Aventura Bus.
It's easier if you just look down below.
Everything will be down below. We're on YouTube and Instagram.
So as well, everything will be linked down below. Both of our accounts and Tio Ventura YouTube channel and Instagram account.
Goes without saying, if you want to see makeup on the road, she does full-time freelancing and tutorials, both on YouTube and Instagram, primarily Instagram at this point. But you can keep up with her.
How I make it happen in here.
And that link will be down below as well.